Now it's time to grow the digital literacy of family carers. These videos are brought to you by a partnership between Seniors Information Service and Carers SA. Seniors Information Service and Carers SA acknowledges and respects the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their continuing connection to land, sea and community. We recognise the diversity of Aboriginal people and the importance of land, culture and heritage to the elders and their communities. Seniors Information Service and Carers SA desires to walk together with the Aboriginal community in parallel on a two-ways journey of cultural and knowledge exchange.
Hi, welcome to Carers SA's Digital Literacy Project. I'm Rosemary Warmington, CEO of Carers SA. Carers SA is delighted to have teamed up with Seniors Information Service to deliver this series of workshops for you on videos so that you can better understand the internet and digital devices. Digital literacy is important for us all, now and into the future. It's particularly important for family carers who must find information, support, advice online and also to connect with others. We know that you'll find this series of workshops helpful to you in learning new skills and ideas. Whether you be new to this or whether you be experienced, or whether you just want to find out how to use that tablet that you've just bought, I'm sure you'll enjoy these workshops. We thank the Australian Government Department of Social Services for the funding to assist us with this project. And we hope you have fun. I hope you have fun and enjoy.
Welcome to our four-part series on digital literacy. My name is Jenny Hughes and I'm the Chief Executive of Seniors Information Service, and we're really pleased to put this four-part series together in partnership with Carers SA and funding from the Australian Government Department of Social Services. In this four-part series we will be looking at showcasing digital literacy and how to use various pieces of equipment, how to use an iPad or an Android, and also looking at internet security and how to make yourself feel safe and comfortable. We hope you find this video series useful and informative.
Get ready to learn more about tablet computers with the Tablet Showcase. Now it's time for your tablet master, Chris.
Right, the objectives of this particular session are to help you decide whether you need a tablet computer. Now, I must add that that is one of the most important things of all. Not me telling you things like, well, look, you've got these choices, iPad, Android, all words that I will mention. But indeed, you may walk out thinking, I do not think I need a tablet computer. That's what this session's all about too. Right, so it's also, if you think you really do need, not want, need, don't let anybody tell you that you want it, right? You need it, remember that. You need an iPad or an Android, right? So they're the two that we cover in this session. We'll try to simplify the computer jargon where possible. Now, at the same time, let's recognise that some is necessary. We can't really explain all of this without using some computer jargon. We'll try to keep it to a minimum though, because we are recognising that there are going to be people in any group who may not have that prior computer experience. So there are varying degrees of computer experience. And we'll also try to provide you direction in your search for further information about them. Not just this particular session, but what else you can actually do to get information. We'll try to have some fun as we go too. Now, the content of the course, why do we talk about tablets? We'll talk about the tablet computer choices that you've got. We'll talk about the fact that there are two versions of them. We'll talk about printing and capacity or storage. And we'll talk about information sources. Right, tablets are an easy way to connect people to the internet, which is the why are we talking about tablet computers. Because a lot of the time you might ring up a government service, you might try, perhaps I should say, to ring up a government service. For example, we talk about MyGov, we're talking about Centrelink, and there's very limited face-to-face contact now. And in fact, it's very hard to also get through on the phone. Enough said about that. Many people have had that experience. Right, so this particular session is a guide and should be looked at as a guide for those who are interested in purchasing a tablet. Which tablet? And once again, do I need a tablet? I can't stress that enough. You'll come across certain terms. You'll come across, and this is only one or two of them really, an application or an app, which is a computer software program that helps you perform some task, like browsing, email, word processing, things like that. And it's particularly used for tablet computers, an app. Now, you see over here in that graphic certain pictures or icons or symbols that represent an icon. And you'll see what they're there for in a moment when I explain a bit about apps on tablet computers. You'll probably hear the word download. That's copying something from the web or website to your computer, or your tablet computer in this instance we're talking about. Tablet choices, the iPad, which has an operating system made by Apple. It's currently at iOS 9. An Android, it has an operating system made by Google, and that's currently version 5, Lollipop. There are others on the market. Now, I say just others because we're not going to actually get into that area at the moment talking about them. The Microsoft Windows tablets, for example. I will just say one thing at this stage about e-readers. If a person's sole need is for reading on a tablet, then I would certainly recommend an e-reader, a dedicated e-book reader, because for two reasons. They're cheaper and things are actually easier to read on an e-book reader. Tablet choices. An existing desktop and or laptop computer, whether it be a Microsoft Windows or an Apple Mac, that doesn't limit you to an Android or iPad. If you have a computer, you are able to use it for backing up your device. Now, the important thing on this slide is those words that have just come up. You do not need a computer in order to use a tablet computer, right? So you don't need to have a computer, whether it be a desktop or a laptop, to use a tablet computer. Now, you can get tablet computer information by comparing tablets when you search the internet. So if you have access to the internet, or you can gain some access to the internet, you can do some searching like this. Putting in words into a search engine, Google is only one of them, comparison of iPad and Android tablet computers. Now, the years 2015/2016, so one or the other, have been put there so that you will get the latest information. When it comes to technology, you want the latest information. Now, you can check the range of software, the apps in the case of iPads, the App Store, and there is the symbol up there, or the Play Store for Android tablets. And you can see in that graphic there, that's the symbol for the Play Store. Now, what is a tablet computer? What does it consist of? Well, it consists of basically a glass screen, I suppose you could say. Now, you operate it via your fingers tapping on the icons, those pictures, which you appear on the screen. Or you can use something called a stylus, which is very much like a pen, for example, like a pen but with a rubber tip. Now there are some keyboards. There is what is called a virtual keyboard, one that comes up on the tablet computer when you need it. For example, if you're going to send an email, and a keyboard will appear on the screen. If you wish, you can get keyboards. The one on the top right, on your top right, that is one which is built into the folio. There is another one called a Bluetooth keyboard, which operates over short distance from the tablet. It works wirelessly. It's called Bluetooth. Don't worry too much about that word. Now, this is an example of how relatively, I'll put the word relatively in, easy to use the tablet computers are. Now, the lady on the left is the great-grandmother of that baby. In the smaller picture up there, there is the lady who works in the office. She is the baby's mother. Now, the lady on the left lives in South America. And she has had conversations via something called FaceTime, which is on iPads. It's a technology which is very similar to Skype, which you may have heard of. Now that can be used on an iPad, Skype, or you can use Skype on an Android. Now the lady on the left is, I would say at the moment she's in her upper 80s. And without any previous computer experience, and she handled the situation quite well. Right, the things you can do with a tablet. They are basically the things which you can do with any computer. Emailing, social networking, Facebook and Twitter, browsing the internet, reading of books. I've already talked about ebook readers and about if it's your sole reason for wanting one of these devices. Naughty Chris. Kneading. What can I do with a tablet? Continued. Playing games. Listening to music. Watching videos. Taking pictures, which is something you wouldn't want to do with a desktop computer, carrying it around with you. You can't take pictures with it. But you can with these devices. Making video calls. You've seen an example of one in a previous slide. Connecting to TV. Using Wi-Fi, which we'll talk about shortly, or with a cable. Right, now talking about iPads. Now the Apple iPad, the interface, now that's really very, very basically, that's any one screen you're looking at one time. It's what you see on the screen. It's common across the entire range, which means if you see one in this room, which you will at the end of this session or towards the end of this session, and then you go to a shop that sells iPads, you'll find that they are very, very much the same. And you also find these words being used about the learning curve being so much better. It's a market-leading tablet. There are many applications available for the device. The price of them varies from free to paid ones. And of the paid ones, they're of a low price. When I say a low price, I'm talking about, for example, 99 cents, $1 something or other, $2 something or other, climbing to $44, $50, depending upon their function, of course. I should say one other thing about applications too. When you buy the device, it already comes with certain apps built into it. For example, it has a mail app. It has a web browser app. And there are numerous others. They're already there. And you might want to stop at just those. Now, that's where that last statement comes in. Only as good as the apps that you want to put on it. Now, it's a personal choice. You might say to yourself, right, what is on there already is quite sufficient for my purposes, and leave it at that. You can do that. It's your choice. Right, the App Store for iPads. That is a link to give you information about the apps. You get information when you go to the App Store. You get more information if you use that particular web link. And that's all the headings that you get when you're getting information about the apps. And the note information is also available in magazines too. How do you buy the apps from the App Store? Well, there is an iTunes gift card for various amounts, $20, $30, $50. You buy it from various places. Now, some of those places you'll see up there, JB Hi-Fi, Post Office, supermarkets, and sometimes they're reduced in price, 20% or a certain percentage. That often leads to being good value. iTunes cards and other gift cards for that matter, you find those on that particular link. You can find out about what places have them cheaper by going to that particular link up there. There's a second way of buying from the App Store. You can have a credit card, or perhaps for a better term would be online credit card. Because I'll say right now, don't use the credit card which is tied in to all your finances. Australia Post have a load and go reloadable prepaid card. There's a $20 one, $500 one too. Androids now. Now the thing that you've got to remember with Androids is that there are many brands. In the case of Apple, that was the only one, the iPad. But in the case of Androids, there's a lot of them. Samsung, Sony, Google, Lenovo, and some brand called Etc. Now, probably, if you ask me for my opinion there, the majority of them would be Samsungs. Now, because there are so many different brands, the interface will vary slightly between the brands. But one thing that I will add to that is that once you've had the device, in this case the Android, for a while, you will find that because it's yours, you begin to learn a little bit more about it all the time. So the actual learning curve that it states up there is not quite as steep. At first it might seem to be steep, because if I was to show you the Samsung right now and say, right, that's where it is, that's where the various things are, and then you go and look at a Sony, you might think, oh dear, Androids, oh, there's so much difference here. But once it's your own, you'll soon learn. Now, like the iPad, many applications or apps are available. And when I say many, whether it be iPads or Androids, I'm talking about into the upper hundreds of thousands, millions of apps. There's many of them. Decisions. The choice of apps for the Android, there's a link up there. There's the Google Play Store gift card, or use your online credit debit card. As for the iPad, storage. Now, think of a tablet computer in that the storage is basically fixed. More so with iPads. Think along the lines of that it can't be upgraded. You can't add bits to it. Some Androids you can. So you've got to think straight away, okay, what do I want to put on my tablet? What do I need it for? Basically, that's what that's all about. Right, the iPad, as I said before, other words to explain the same thing. It's a closed system. There are no ports. The only port there is the charging port. It makes the overall security of the iPad or the iOS, which is the operating system, much safer. That is certainly Apple's view, and that is the view of many people who are connected with, in one way or another, with that operating system. Minimum storage is 16 gigabytes. Some Androids have even less than that. And as soon as we start talking about the minimum storage, think in terms of if you buy, let's say you buy a 16 gigabyte device, which is the smallest, in most cases, not all, but most cases, a lot of that space will be taken up with the operating system itself. So if you buy a 16 gigabyte, you'll find that it may well only be 14 point something, because a lot of it is taken up with the actual operating system. iPads range anywhere from 16 to 128 gigabytes. So you've got to ask yourself a question. Are you thinking of saving many photos, music, videos or apps because storage can be an issue? If you have a computer, it is true that you can move things from your device to your computer to save them. Now, I like to think in terms of photos in particular. You take photos when you're on, say you're on holiday, you take photos, then you get back home. If you've got a computer, you transfer them to the computer. Oh, I missed a step. You've got to show them to friends, of course. That's why you take photos. Once you've got them onto your computer, then you can delete them from your device and go on another holiday. So life becomes one long holiday. Now, the Apple iPad, you can save to a secure online drive called iCloud. You get 5 gigabytes free, which isn't very much, but if you want more than 5 gigabytes, you need to pay to increase that capacity. You need an internet connection to access iCloud. Now, just before we get to that last point there, these are the charges for iCloud, if you wanted more, at the beginning of this year. 50 gigabytes, these are Australian prices, $1.49 per month. 200 gigabyte, $4.49 per month. 1 terabyte, $14.99 per month. Right, now, the last thing on this slide, you can buy an SD camera connection kit. Now, over on the left, so we're looking at the left picture, that's where you put the memory card itself. The one on the right, that is where you would actually put the cable from your digital camera. They are they are $45 at the moment at the Apple Store. You can get them a bit more cheaply from other places. Now, in the case of Androids, there is a support for connection of a USB flash drive, but an adapter or cable and app from the Play Store may be necessary. It may have a micro SD card slot for additional storage. The reason why I put the word may in there is because if you buy one of the cheaper Androids, and there are cheaper ones on the market, be careful of those, by the way. Make sure they will do what you want them to do. Now, some of them don't have this micro SD card slot, which provides extra or additional storage. Right, cloud storage in the case of Androids, 15 gigabytes is free. Internet connection is required for that too. Printing with these devices, iPad, it requires a Wi-Fi connection. You require, for printing, an AirPrint enabled printer. AirPrint is Apple's technology, that's their name, that's all, a name for their wireless technology. Now, you may have an existing printer which you may be saying to yourself, it is a perfectly good printer. I'm not ready to get rid of it. First of all, let me mention this. AirPrint enabled printers these days come relatively cheaply, but there is a way, if you still want to use the existing printer, there are apps available. There are 1 or 2 apps on the App Store that will help. Printer manufacturers make apps also, so that the printer and the device will work together. As a last result, you could email it to yourself. Right, Android printing, that also requires a Wi-Fi connection. You can print wirelessly through Google Cloud Print. There's another name for you. It's the same as the Apple AirPrint, only their name is Google Cloud Print. You require a wireless enabled printer. Now, if you want to use your existing home printer, there are apps available. HP, the printer manufacturer, makes one. Now, the versions of these devices. There is a version which is Wi-Fi only. There is another version which is Wi-Fi plus cellular. Now, in the case of iPads, the word cellular is used. In the case of Androids, the words 3G or 4G is used. Cellular is the American name, like you hear talk of cell phones, in the case of meaning mobile phones. Right, a similar connection to that of mobile phones, as you can see in that graphic there. The cellular, or 3G, 4G, has a similar connection to mobile phones, connects with the tower. You need a SIM card, you need a plan, or you need the prepaid option. More about that too in a moment. Wi-Fi, places that have Wi-Fi. Some homes, most libraries these days, coffee shops. The only thing with coffee shops, they will ask you, or if you actually ask them for their password so you can get on to their Wi-Fi system, they might ask for a certain cost. You might have to pay for it. I don't know if you'll drink lots of cups of coffee, whether they'll give it to you for nothing. Perhaps it depends upon the coffee shop. Accommodation places, hotels, caravan parks. Now, for Wi-Fi, you require some existing internet connection. You require a wireless router. Now, there are portable or mobile devices. Now, if you think you're going away on holiday, for example, you want one of these devices. You need one of these devices to go away on holiday with. So you've got that device. Your next step is you need the Wi-Fi. So we create the wireless or Wi-Fi hotspot, which has a small amount of data, and you can see one there in that picture there to the left with a T on it. That is one of the mobile devices. Might run on a battery, for example, and with it you get a small amount of data, and that provides the hotspot. It's just around you or close to you, if you like. Outside of the range of Wi-Fi, there is no access to the internet. Now that will help you decide whether you want Wi-Fi or whether you want Wi-Fi plus the cellular or 3G, 4G. Ask yourself this question: to what extent do you want access to the internet at all times? If your answer to that question is yes, I want access at all times, it may be that you go along the line of the cellular or 3G, 4G. If the answer is no, I don't need it at all times, then you might go with Wi-Fi. Now, prices, iPad Air 2, which is 9.7 inches. When I say that, I'm talking about from corner to corner. There is an iPad Mini 2 and 4. Now, this is old technology, this one. This is a Mini, an iPad Mini, goes back quite a few years. So it's old technology, but one's available now, iPad Mini 2 and 4. That is 7.9 inches from corner to corner, diagonally. There are two what are called iPad Pros. There's a 9.7 inch iPad Pro and it's a 12.9 inch iPad Pro. And the prices, capacities are up there on that sheet as well. And that was information from late March. By the way, I should say this, you can get that information, if you ever want that information, from the Apple website. Now, in the case of Androids, there isn't a single website that you can go to get that information. That's the unfortunate part of it. Right, Android tablets, pricing and capacity. Now, as you can see from that slide, the Android tablets are typically 16 gigabytes. Now remember the brands, many brands, there are many specifications too. The premium brand, high specification 10 inch, which is about the size of an iPad, a full size iPad, between $500 and $550. Similar specification 8 inch tablets, that's round about the size of the iPad Mini, then it's about $400. Premium brand, mid-specification, 10-inch Androids, around $400, and lower specification tablets, lesser prices. Now, whether you want high specification or mid specification depends upon what you need it for. So you'd have to do a little bit of researching of that as to what you need. Just to give you a little story, if you like, from a little bit ago, there's a gentleman who came in here for some help with his Android, and what he wanted it to do wasn't working. And we found out the reason it wasn't working was he bought the device and it wasn't what he needed. It didn't have a certain thing. I can't remember exactly what it was now, but it didn't have it, whatever it was. And so he spent all that money on buying the device and it wouldn't do what he needed. So that's why I said that right at the beginning. Now make sure it's what you need. Right, the prepaid option for a cellular device. So it's a pay-as-you-go system. It's valid for, say, a month, small amount of data. Some providers offer a great amount of data for a longer period of time. Now, keep that in mind. Pay-as-you-go, so monthly. At the end of that month, you can change if you wish. You found out that you need to download more data. So you can change the end of a month. Contract though, like all contracts, there is a fixed component. Fixed monthly fee for 1 or 2 years. In other words, you're locked into 1 or 2 years, whatever the policy is. Yes, you get a fixed monthly data. Now, keep that in mind. You may want to change, but it may not be possible because you've signed a contract. The only other way that I know of is if you actually paid to get out of that contract, or you paid to make some alterations to that contract. Now, bundling of tablet and data may be an option, because bundling of tablet and data is this sort of thing. You go to the telco and you say either iPad or Samsung. They're the two that I know of that do this most of all, with those two brands. And the tablet and the data are put in together. And if you take out a contract, let's say it's over 2 years, you're paying out the tablet plus the data over that 2 years in instalments, I guess I'm saying. So that may be an option. Now, not all Androids are available with bundled data. Probably, it's safe to say Samsung would be available with bundled data though. Voice technology. Right now, in the case of an iPad, it's called Siri, and there are many serious applications of it. I'll give you a little example right now of Siri. What time is it in London, Siri?
In London, England, it's 5:19 a.m.
So in other words, without you doing a whole lot of research, checking it up and that sort of thing, ask your personal assistant, Siri, to tell you. Siri, spell accommodate.
Accommodate is spelled ACCOMMODATE.
Looks like you've got to be a bit of a speed listener too. Right, now, apparently Siri is a math wizard. Let's find out. 246 divided by 16.
It's 15.375.
Okay, yeah, try this one. Convert 5 foot 5 inches to centimetres.
Let me have a look. 5 feet 5 inches converts to about 165 centimetres.
Right. And of course you can do the same with degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. Siri, where am I?
You're on 147 to 151 Curry Street, Adelaide.
Oh! And it provides me with a map as well. Locate the nearest ATM.
Here is what I found.
Right, and okay, 60, it tells me 60 Light Square, Adelaide, and provides me with a map. Now, that is just an example of some of the things you can do with Siri, what I call the serious applications. There's also something that I like to call wasting time with Siri. Now, I tell you what, if John was here this afternoon, what I'm going to do right now I'm going to declare right now that my interest is really in iPads. John's interest is in Androids. So normally I say to people, if the two of us are in here, that if anybody wants to talk iPads, I'll do that. If anybody wants to talk Androids, okay, talk to John. And so we break things up a little bit that way. Right, let's try this one. Who makes the best tablet computers?
There's the iPad, and then there's, well, nothing, I guess.
Now, why did Siri say that? Let's find out. Siri, are you biased?
We were talking about you, not me.
Yeah, okay, all right. Can I borrow some money?
Neither a borrower nor a lender be.
All right. Just for that, I'm going to ask you this. Tell me your story.
That would take a donkey's years.
All right, let's try and start an argument. You are boring, Siri.
I'm juggling flaming swords right now. You just can't see it.
No, certainly not boring. Not if you're juggling flaming swords. No. So that's just an example of the sort of thing you can do. If you want to send an email and you're feeling a little bit, dare I use the word lazy? Right now, my personal bias, you can see from that one statement there. I've said all those things about Siri, and then I've got to Android, where I mention that Android, Google and Samsung has similar voice technology, or in the case of an Android or Samsung, it's called S-Voice. So you can do the same sort of thing with an Android. That's what that's saying. Now, the information sources and support. Now, in the case of Androids, you'd need to go to the individual brands' websites. The Samsung, Sony, and Forward IT is a good site to go to. In the case of the iPad, you go to the Apple website.
Well, thank you, Chris. Well, you have a break while I take over for a minute. And yes, apple.com is a fantastic place to get more information about the iPad. Also, if you go to your local bookstore or library, they also have a font of knowledge there available for you too. And there are plenty of magazines for iPads and Androids out there available at your local newsagent. Plus, you can get the user manuals for iPads at apple.com/iPad. There you can also get their user guide for iOS software. Plus, if you're looking for some extra information from the South Australian Government about IT, go to forwardit.sa.gov.au. And if you want to get some hands-on experience with an iPad without actually owning one, you can go to the Apple Store in Rundle Place at the Rundle Mall. Now Chris is going to talk a little bit more about the Apple Store. Back to you, Chris.
And while I'm talking about the Apple Store, I should also add this bit. There is one thing they won't let you do in the Apple Store, and that is pick up an iPad and they won't let you do that. Now, the setup, they will do that for you if you buy the iPad in the store or the online store too. They will do it for you. There isn't a great deal to it. They will do it very quickly. Training in the Apple Store is not free. I will mention training in SIS, Seniors Information Service, shortly. There are free workshops in the Apple Store. They are set by the Apple Store. It's a situation where people gather around a table who've booked into this particular session and this topic which has been set by the Apple Store, and they work on it led by an Apple employee. There is an Apple protection plan. It's a bit like an insurance plan. It extends your warranty from 1 year to 3 years, and it also provides phone support, which might be a valuable thing for you. But the thing to remember about anything like an insurance plan, consumer warranty law always applies to warranties. Right, training. Now, I mentioned about the Apple training. There is training at CIS. It's $5 per person per device. Now, after that, it's possible to go have a one-to-one session. They're $5 per person per device as well. So it's one-to-one, subject to the availability of a volunteer. So in other words, you do certain work in here about your iPad. If there are other things you want to find out about, or if there's something you want to go over, you can book at CIS to have a one-to-one session to go over that. Right, at CIS, as I was saying about training, group training for the iPad, so that's where a group of people gather in this room for iPad training, and the same is done for people who are actually learning to do something about their Android, the group training, and then there's the one-to-one training, if they wish. Right, there's the one-to-one sessions. Please ring CIS to book. Libraries also have training. Campbelltown, for example, Tea Tree Gully. Community centres for training, contact the centre for the cost. Apple Store, as I said before, it's paid training. Summing up, Androids. Remember those different brands? Samsung, Sony, that brand called etc. Capacity, 8 to 32 gigabytes. Prices vary according to its features. Sizes, 7 to 10 inch, 12 inches, but I put that in a while ago actually, because I couldn't imagine holding a 12-inch tablet. But, well, there are 12-inch iPads out now, as well as on the Android scenario. Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi and 3G, 4G, so 2 versions. Now, we're getting to the choices section now. With the iPad, 12.9 and 9.7 inch ones. That's the iPad Pro and the iPad Air 2, iPad Mini 2 and iPad Mini 4, that's the 9.7 ones. Retina display, I'll explain that in a moment. All the iPads have a Retina display now. Retina display refers to the resolution, how sharp the pictures are, how sharp the text is. There's the sizes. Capacity, the iPad Airs, Minis, Pro, 16 to 128 gigabytes. Price will vary accordingly. Contract or prepaid option if the device is cellular. The virtual or actual, and you can have both if you wish. That's the keyboard. Now, out of all the things you've heard this afternoon, this bit isn't written down there, but it's the most important thing of all. So you've got to remember this fact. Right? You've got to, so get ready. Do you want a white one? Or don't spoil the thunder. Or do you want a black one? Does it matter? No. Personal choice. I mean, perhaps you find a purple with pink spot cover. Although, in all seriousness, a lady did say once in here that for her eyes, the black one was better. Then she went on to explain what she meant. She had particular eyesight problem. And for her, it was a health issue, I guess you could say, in that the black was better for her personally. So for me being facetious, it turned into something serious.
Thank you, Chris, and that concludes this video on the Tablet Showcase. These videos were made possible through a partnership between Carers SA and Seniors Information Service. For more information on these courses, contact Carers SA or Seniors Information Service using the numbers on screen. Plus, we would love to thank all of those volunteers who made this course possible. And you, the viewers at home, thank you for watching.